first, let's answer the question. So the question is, where is the velocity negative in this graph? Well, the velocity is negative here. So at this point in time, the velocity is negative 1 meters per second. At this point in time, the velocity is negative 4 meters per second. So the velocity is negative from the time interval of 5 seconds to 10 seconds. So you need to remember that the sign of velocity indicates the direction. So if we said that this was moving to the east from wherever the initial starting point is, this would have changed directions, moved to the west. Then we'd be going east again. Now, the slope of the velocity indicates acceleration, which you may have guessed already, depending on how well you remember your calculus. We'll talk about that later in this lesson. So we can move on, and we can actually use the velocity versus time graph to construct a position versus time graph. All right, I've set up my position versus time graph, and let's take it from there. So this first part, the velocity is moving away from the initial starting point. Now, this part from 2.5 seconds to 5 seconds, the velocity is still moving away from the starting point, it's still going in the same direction. So one of the common mistakes that beginning physics people make, even seasoned physics people, is to start thinking that this means a reversal in direction. That's not true. It just means that it is slowing down. And we'll talk more about that today. When we get to 5 seconds, that's when we reverse directions. Again, here we are still going in that reverse direction. Okay. Now, right here is interesting as well, because the velocity is about 0. So we can say that it's pretty much stopped there. Then we start, we have a velocity in the positive direction. And then the velocity is still positive, like that. Now, again, I'm not worrying about magnitude right now. So I cannot guarantee that my magnitudes are correct for my position versus time graph. But what I'm more interested in is just what is the position of the object doing? So it moves away from the object, then it moves closer to the object, and then it moves away again. We can actually calculate all of these magnitudes, how far the object is going based on the velocities, and we will look at that equation today. The one thing we can't tell from a velocity versus time graph is where the object starts. I just started it at position 0, but it could be further away. It just depends on what our reference frame is.